What is going on, Facebook? It is your favorite guy, Dimitrius Naylor. We are live. Tonight, we're going to talk to CEO, owner of Innovation REI LLC here in Jacksonville, North Carolina. But before we get started, I want to talk to you about something big. So tune in tonight, and the number one share will receive two, not one, but two free t-shirts from our new company, Nayledit LLC. And you can choose either from the Heavyweight Disciples collection or from my wife's collection, BB3 Studios, which we're super excited. Some big news coming up. We got the launch party going next week. I'm sorry, July 15th is when we're going to do the launch party. Everything will come out tomorrow. But what I wanted to say was I'm excited. Tonight's guest is a good friend of mine. We met when I was in the car business. Sold this gentleman and his wife a vehicle. Unbeknownst to me that we would have a friendship this long, but you know what I mean? That's what happens when you treat. Let's go, Beth. Michael's wife said she wants those shirts. But that's what happens when you take care of people. Mike has been a good friend of mine. He has been a confidant. As I'm pivoting into my entrepreneurial space, he's one of those guys that I look up to. Just closed a major deal, but we will get into that tonight. We're going to talk with him about his life, about his journey, about how everything transpired. I mean, the man worked for the FBI, left the FBI to turn around and go into business for himself. But without further ado, let's bring on the CEO and president, however he wants to call himself. He's a very humble guy. Let's bring him on in. Mike Ferraro, what is going on, sir?
What's happening, man? How are you doing?
Man, I am blessed. Good to have you on here. I'm super excited for the Sunday night showcase. I had my brother on last week, and then immediately when I got off that video with my brother last week, I was like, Mike, I got to bring Mike on. Mike is like, for me, you're like the rock star of entrepreneurs that I know, but you know what I mean?
I appreciate that. I don't know if that's all true, but I appreciate the thought though.
So real quick, 1 minute, give us a quick rundown of who Mike Ferraro is, just for the people that don't know, that are watching, that are like, who is this guy? Give it to us.
All right. So just very, very much a very regular guy, man. As you know, just from meeting me, nobody too special. Big family man. That's my big thing. And then, running this company, a couple companies now, Innovation REI, basically a real estate investment company. Started as one thing, it's kind of grown into other things. I'm sure we'll get into that in details, but to sum it up, that would be it, man.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So, Mike, believer in God, husband, father, entrepreneur. So let's start at the beginning. How did you come to start the company? But let's start back. Let's start around like how you left the FBI. Let's start there.
Whew. All right. Yeah, that's a tough one to describe because a lot of people are going to think I'm crazy. They thought I was crazy then, and it still sounds crazy to talk about, you know?
Yeah, no, I definitely want to share this story with the people, because this is, ladies and gentlemen, this is what it takes to walk out your faith. You know what I mean? Walking out your faith, the thing that we do the most, either whether it be on my show, The Journey, on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m., or whether it be the Sunday night showcase. If not every one of them, every single one of them has some story that is tied to their journey in faith. So take it away, Mike.
Yeah, so I mean, you hit on it real big. It's really just a question of faith. I mean, and a lot of people say they want to do things, and a lot of people truly in their heads, they think they want to do things, but you know, until it's in your heart and you're ready to pull the trigger, it's all just talk. You know what I mean? With us, I don't have a cool story of like how I particularly got into real estate investing. It was just something I always, you know, I'm a real analytical guy. I was a math major in college, and I would always see all these ideas for new businesses. I think I always had that inkling to want to run my own business and kind of be the boss and everything. But I didn't, every time I would see business ideas, I was like, man, that doesn't really seem like a great business model. You know, I don't really see money happening in there. But every time I saw real estate, I just always felt like there was like that, man, that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, buy low, you fix up, you sell high. It makes sense that you can make money. So it was always in the back of my head. I kind of grew up being pretty broke for the most part. I've been broke my whole life up till here recently. And so it was just one of those things when I was working in the FBI, that was my first job. I was able to save up enough money to really try to do something. And, with the blessing of my wife, she let me invest. So my first flip ever was while I was working in the FBI. It was here in Jacksonville, North Carolina, where we're at. And we were up in the Virginia, D.C. area. And, I don't know what kind of details you want, but, basically we did that, and it turned into something where it looked like we could maybe make it a viable option. I talked to my wife, said, what do you want to do? Can we do this for 25 more years with working for the Bureau? She said, probably not. I said, well, then we shouldn't even do it for another year. If this isn't what we're going to do, then why waste? I looked at everything from that point. That's a waste of time, So we prayed about it, of course. We kind of set these 3 things up verbally, like goals or just things have to happen, because we had just had our first daughter. And we were like, if these things happen, we know it's meant to be. We came down to visit her family in North Carolina. And that weekend we were down. All 3 of those things happened while we were here in town. It's unbelievable, because they weren't just like little things that just happened. And they all happened. And we said, man, at this point, there ain't there's no looking back now. We put our faith in ourselves. We prayed about it, put faith in God. He put that answer to us. And at that point, I went in from that trip and turned in my notice to the FBI.
That's awesome. So, you basically challenge God in the fact to show you 3 specific tangible things. And then once he showed you those things, see, what I notice a lot of people in this space of entrepreneurship, what they do is and I talked about this last week, is that they want to treat this like a side hustle because they're afraid to fail. They challenge God in a certain place, but then they turn around and say, you know what, maybe show me something else. But God already showed you what you're looking for, and you just have to walk that out, whatever that is. So kudos to you for actually following through, because that is the number one thing that I see with entrepreneurs that they do, is that they challenge, especially faith-based entrepreneurs, they challenge God in a specific area, but then they turn around and say, you know what, that wasn't enough. Show me something else. So props to you for that. So moving along, so you leave the FBI, put your notice in, and then you go full steam ahead. Tell me about your first deal after you left the FBI. Not that first deal, but the deal after that. What was that first deal like when you were all in?
I'm trying to remember, because it was a whirlwind, man. Because when I quit and moved down here, I want to make it real clear, I didn't move down here with any job. I moved down here to run the business. I had done 3 deals part-time while I was in DC. So I didn't know what to expect, really, man. I don't even remember. I couldn't even tell you which property was my first one once I hit the ground in Jacksonville, because I'm telling you, for the first 2 years, it was nonstop. It was 80 hours a week. It was around the clock. Everything was real estate. I just remember getting down here and, like, kind of how you talked about, like, being in part-time. I could feel the difference. Like, this isn't I could see what I was doing before with the part-time stuff, and I was seeing it was a whole different game now. Like, now I was here, and now I could wreak havoc, and I just couldn't believe how quick things started rolling. Because once I put my mind to it and my faith to it that this is what I'm doing, I got down here and things just started happening like crazy. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I don't even know if there was just one deal. I think as soon as I got down here, I think I locked up like 2 or 3, 4 properties. And we just I just started rolling, as much as I could.
Now, so you start rolling and you start getting that momentum. Was there ever a point in that journey that you felt like, you know what did I get myself in? Did you have that like backup moment?
Yeah.
Where you said,
I still have them. Okay. If I'm being real, and I know, I peeped some of your episodes, of your last couple, and I know that's what you want. You're not here to just, just to motivate. You want to have some real conversation. And I still have them, man. The thing about entrepreneurship, running your own business, is there's ups and downs, man. That is the big difference between being an employee with a set job, that this is what you show up to do. You show up, you do it, and you get paid. Like, that's not what it is when you're running your own business. So there's still many times, man, we'll have crazy stressful weeks still. And sometimes I'm like, man, well, about time to get a retirement plan in place or something, you know, because it's draining, man, and it's stressful. But it's good stuff, and I think it's good in the sense that it keeps you from getting cocky too. Like, because what I see a lot of people do, it's almost so I see two extremes: the fear of failure, which is what you talked about, and I think that's probably the number one killer why people don't get into business. But the opposite is you get in, you make a couple things happen, and then you're just like, oh, this is it. That's all business is, you know. And you're not
the man.
Yeah, I'm the man. I'm not changing my plan. I'm not going. You know, I always say, like Bruce Lee, be like water. You know, like I have a plan, and it's important to have plans. But guess what? Our plans don't always match God's plans. It doesn't match the world's plans. There's always things changing. And to be a true business person and to keep your business relevant, you have to be able to kind of ride those waves up and down and make the moves with them, you know?
I see that a lot with people, that they get to a certain level of success. Even when I was in the car industry, I get to a certain level of success, and I'm guilty of it too. And that's what I always talk about. And I appreciate you saying is, you know what I mean? We want to be real. We want to be raw. We want to be intentional, but also deliberate with delivering this message that, you know what I mean? You, like Bruce Lee said, you have to be like water, moving, but at the same time, willing to crash. You know what I mean? Water is probably one of the most dangerous but beautiful things on this planet. Now, you have been in business for yourself for how long?
I think I left the FBI in midway 2013, and that's when I moved back down here. So that's when I started doing it full time. So, you know, about 7 years now, basically.
Nice. Now, what before we get too deep, hold on one second, Mike. I want to ask you. I had the back screen door open, and they're on the back porch. But before we get too deep, I want to ask you, what would be some of the things that you would tell a person looking to get into the real estate flip business? What would you tell them is the number one thing that they need to look out for getting into this business that maybe you wish somebody would have told you?
I think the biggest thing, and I read it, but you know, I didn't have a mentor or coach, you know, or anything like that. I think the biggest thing is just really understanding how numbers work. I mean, like, you know, like I said, I'm a math guy, so I know how big, you know, I can do calculations, but like to really understand the real moving parts of the real estate investing and where money actually gets spent. There's a lot of costs people don't see, like when you're, you know, when like it happens to me all the time, man. People see what I pay for a house and then what I sell it for, and they're like, "Oh man, you're making that much per house." I'm like, "Nah, it's nothing like it," you know. And I think just having somebody to really show you some live examples of that goes a long way, because if you get, now luckily I'm a pretty realistic guy, so I was pretty good. I did my research, but I guess I'm speaking that from things I've seen other people doing, that I've seen them get jammed up is they're buying homes and they come to me, a lot of people in this area come to me for some mentorship or some guidance. And a lot of them will come to me after they bought something.
Your Mr. Flip happens. Of course they come to you.
And I love to help people. You know what I mean? I love it. But they'll come to me after they bought something and they'll be like, "Well, here's the numbers on it. You know, it's going to be a 20,000 reno, and then I'm going to make this much." I'm like, "Brother, you know, I'll walk through it, and it's not." And I just think that's the most important thing, is not just reading in books. I mean, really getting your hands on, finding a mentor, finding somebody who's doing it. I think that's probably real helpful. I did myself, I say, a disservice. I mean, it kind of made me who I am, because I was thrown to the wolves. So you figure stuff out, and I enjoy that. But I also made a lot of mistakes just from not having anybody to really, you know, bounce that off of or give me guidance. I kind of trial by error. So I made a lot of mistakes. And I think that's the biggest thing, just having somebody that can even just walk you through a property. Hey man, come through this one I just bought. Let me show you what I looked at. Let me show you the reno numbers and what I expect to make, and just really seeing some stuff firsthand. Because I'll tell you the biggest mistake most real estate investors do, including myself, on your first deal is once you finally get past that fear of failure, right? and you want to go invest in something, like you become hungry to make a deal happen. So like I was looking at properties, and remember, I'm in Virginia, Northern Virginia, DC area. I'm trying to drive down to Jacksonville. I'm looking at properties. I'm looking at 10. This is back in the day when there's tons of foreclosures. I'm looking at 10, 20 foreclosures when I'm down here, putting all these offers in, nothing comes. Then I'm driving back, putting more offers in. And so it got to a point one time, I'm like, you know what, let's just make a deal happen. And I was like, this person was counting back on me, and I just made a deal happen because I just wanted to do it. I'm like, look, I'm done. And you don't want to lose steam, right? You know, like it's in your head, I'm going to do it. And if you don't do it, you may never do it. So, and that's the biggest thing I overpaid for my first flip. My first flip, I think I made a couple $100 on, man.
Wow.
So look, dude, this is crazy. Like my first flip, I was obviously still working the FBI. I was working 40 hours a week. I would get off on Friday afternoon. I would drive down to Jacksonville, North Carolina, about 5.5, 6 hours, depending on traffic. I'd go to the flip, sleep on the concrete floors of my own flip because I was trying to do all the work myself because I was trying to save money and figure it out. I'd work, I'm not kidding when I say I work 16, 18 hours a day for the week. Each day I was there on the weekend doing work on my own, getting up, driving back Sunday night to get back to work on Monday morning, do it all over again. I was doing that for weeks straight.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, and it's humbling, you know, when you're sleeping on a concrete slab, completely demolished completely demolished house, you know. It's lucky I did it. I would have lost money if I had just, you know, paid some general contractors and stuff to do it. But I made the same mistake. I overshot what I paid for. I was okay on the estimate for my renovations, and then the market happened to drop right after I bought it, so the house sold for like $10,000 less than what we thought. So, but the lessons were invaluable, and obviously, you know, I didn't quit from that. You know, I looked at it, but I was very realistic. Like I identified what I did wrong, what I could improve on. And I took those lessons into the next one. And the next one I made, you know, I think I made like 7,000 or something. So not still nothing great, maybe 10,000. I don't remember exactly. But again, lessons learned, and just keep doing that. Finally, my third one, which is my last one I did part-time from DC, you know, that one went exactly to plan. Like I put a lot of pieces together. I
started figuring it out.
Figuring out a little bit. And boom, 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 went under contract, made exactly what I wanted to make on it. And then when that happened, that's kind of when me and Beth had that conversation about, you know, do we want to do this full time, and kind of went from there, man.
Make it a go. We're about at the halfway point. So hold on one second. I'm going to pull you out for just a second. We're at the halfway point, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking to Michael Ferraro, owner of Innovation REI LLC. Mr. Flip Happens. But what we're talking about tonight is his journey into entrepreneurship, what that looked like for him, how that transpired. But guys, remember, share this out, drop your name in the comments. And for everybody that shares this out, I will put your name in the hat so that way you can have a chance to win. Excuse me, I can't speak tonight. Have a chance to win 2 of our brand new t-shirts from our t-shirt line, and you can pick either from Heavyweight Disciples or from BB3 Studios. But I want to shout a few people out that are on here. I'm hosting a watch party of my own group. I got Kingdom Jeremiah, we got Hubert Owens, we got LaTwan Hutchinson, we got Robert L. Lane, another broker here in town, Keenan Pittman, my guy, Ayala Jose, Jeff Edens, Brandon Curl, Ernestine McDonald, Kanita Zimmerman, Dana Gill. Some of my good clients are in here. Wayne Pullman, George Ordonez, Ernestine Mason Turner, and Aaron Taylor. I appreciate each and every one of you guys tuning in every Sunday night to see what we're doing. But tonight, again, we're talking to Michael Ferraro of Innovation REI LLC, aka Mr. Flip Happens. So if you guys could share this out, and if you guys have any questions, as always, our Sunday nights are interactive. So you can, if you have any questions for Mike or myself, Brooke Lane, hey, what's going on? I see you in the comments. If you guys have any comments or conversation that you want to ask Mike or myself, drop it in the comments. I'll ask it directly to him. We want to make this an interactive conversation. He's here to give you some tips and tricks. And I got the feeling, and I haven't asked him yet, but I got the feeling we might be back for a part 2. But anyways, let's get back to the conversation. So Mike, you were talking about one of the big things that you were talking about. You were talking about sacrifice. Now, driving back and forth. I just got done doing that. I was in Virginia for the last 6 months, and I got done doing that. I was driving back and forth on the weekends. My family was here. I was in Virginia, living in a small company apartment. Super grateful for everything that they did for me. But at the same time, though, that requires a level of sacrifice, that commute, that sleeping on the hard floors, that, you know what I mean, taking the hard knocks. So I already asked you basically what was one lesson that you could give away to somebody. But right now, I want to talk about your biggest deal to date. I saw it online. Hopefully you're good to talk about it. But you know what I mean? Mike is always one of those guys that tries to put other people in the position to win. And you know what I mean? I unfortunately have not been in the position to win with Mike, but Mike continues to always like, hey, I got this opportunity, either yourself or somebody else, you know what I mean? He's got another company called Second Home that I'll let Mike tell you a little bit more about that company, but let's talk about your biggest deal to date. You know what I mean? Let's first talk about your largest job as far as many houses. I think the one you got right now is about 18, right? And then let's talk about your largest and most profitable deal and how what you see on TV is not anywhere close to what you do in real life.
Yeah, don't watch TV. We cut cable. You know what I mean? I recommend. But yeah, so hey, I'm super excited. So I know this time goes by so fast, and we're trying to get a lot of information in. But like, so the biggest deal I ever did, I do want to make a point first. We started off when I first started the company, it was just doing flips. I mean, that's all I created the company to do was to flip properties. But I always kind of had a long-term goal of creating more passive income. You know what I mean? Rental properties, and we also do like renovation. We're general contractors, so we do renovation work for other people as well. And I'm slowly trying to transition from being my primary focus on flips and doing everything else as secondary to becoming a landlord and my renovation company being my primary and then flips kind of being secondary. The reason for that, we can get into later details, is just because flipping is extremely hard work and it's nonstop. You make a deal. It's kind of like selling a car. Yeah. You sell a car, you make your money, and then it's done, right? It's gone. There's nothing else to gain from it. So it's great. We're grateful for making that money, right? We're grateful for making a sell, for making your purchase, but it's just money. It's income. Income is great. My model is built more around equity and wealth more than cash flow and income. Yes. And that's just for me. That's just my personal goals. I think that's another hint or tip I would give people is truly identify what it is you're trying to accomplish with your business, because there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, and they're all different. There's no right or wrong. It just depends what your personal goals are. So this property I'm really excited about. It was a big 18-unit deal that I picked up here in town locally. It's going to be all passive income, which I love that word passive, because all my income to date's been active, and I am tired, man.
Well, hold on real quick. Explain to them the difference between active and passive, because I don't think, you know what I mean, for everybody that's not in the entrepreneurial space or kind of thinking about jumping in, we want to make this real and tangible. So explain to them the difference between active and passive.
So active is you're going out and working for it. It's no different than having a job that you go clock in for. That's active money. You have to go accomplish something to get paid. Passive money, that's wake up money, baby. You know what I mean? You wake up and there's some money coming in, you know? So like for rental properties, I don't have to do anything other than buy that property the first of the month. That's passive income coming in every month. You know, of course, you have to do little repairs and maintenance, but as far as actions, you don't really have to take any action. That's just money that's coming in every month, no matter what's going on in your life. And that's the goal. That's the idea of building some wealth. You know what I mean? Is actually having that kind of money coming in, because the thing is, they're not independent of each other, in a sense. Like, you can be getting passive income and you can still go out and be doing active income, you know, which I'm doing. You know, I have rentals and things like that, and that's my goal, but I still can go do flips and get, you know, actively pursue additional money. I can do renovation jobs for people and actively pursue money. So that's the big difference. And my business model is trying to switch over to being a more passive model over time. You know what I mean? I've only been at it full time for 7 years. Which is not very long, you know, so we're definitely on the right path, and I'm getting there on it. So,
okay. So put us back into Now you're trying to get to a place where your passive is more than your active. So that way, if at any time anything happens, you can just pull the parachute and you're out of there.
You're good. Yeah, you're good. I mean, that's the end game, is that you want to, I'm too young to retire right now. I mean, I got a little bit of age on you, a little bit of wisdom, but I'm too young to retire, and I like to work still. So I'm not retiring anytime soon, but my mindset is I turned 40 years old in September. All right. And my mindset, a goal I put out this year for myself was that by September, by my 40th birthday, if I chose to quit doing all other work, I could retire and support my family. And with this deal, I think I've made it happen pretty much.
Nice.
But that's the goal, is to just have it set up so that when I am ready to stop working, because we all will have that day, I'm sure. And when I am ready, I want to be in a position to be able to do so.
So this 18, so just so people understand, this 18 property deal is not for you to turn around. Oh, we got a question. Carrie, I see your question. So your 18 property deal is not for you to turn around and flip and to rehab and turn around and put back on the market. This is long-term generational wealth that will stick with your family and your kids and your beautiful wife, and that'll stick with them way past you.
That's the plan right now. Now, again, we talked about Bruce Lee, so there's always the opportunity. I was able to negotiate a very good deal, and I think there's a lot of equity in the property, a substantial amount of equity. There might be the possibility that we get in there and rent these units out and then post them for sale at an extreme markup. And if somebody buys them, then we would take it, and of course reinvest it into something similar, that we would pay off. But as of right now, I'm looking at them as a hold property, creating this passive income for us, and going from there. I think these units, I want to say, bring in not net, but like gross rent, I want to say like $120,000 a year or something like that.
Okay. Now, so we did get a question, and I want to address the question before we move on. Carrie Cook, she's another broker here in town. She said, why long-term rentals versus Airbnb for, I would imagine, for an investment?
Okay. So one thing I know a couple people that do Airbnbs, and they do very well with it. So let me just say that Airbnb is a business, though. It is not as passive as a rental property. Running an Airbnb is like running a business. It's constantly moving parts, people in and out. You're having to get them cleaned. You're having to get things adjusted. It's a great investment. And I, one of somebody I look up to a lot, who's a big time realtor here in town, Diane Castro Perez. I know she's been getting into them, and she's had great success with them. She's got a couple on the beach and on the water and things like that. And I know a few other people that do it. For me, it's a little more active than what I'm looking to do, because of how thin we're already spread. And that's really the only answer. I mean, that's the main answer for it. It's just, again, it's a personal goal situation. You could generate more income for sure out of an Airbnb, I think, obviously running it, but it's a job, man. And I just I'm tapped out of hours in a week.
I got you. Now, you also talked about, and I want to make sure that we give you your due plug. I want to make sure that everybody knows what you do in town. So what, and across the nation. So what other businesses do you have that are out there that you operate, run, invested in?
I got you. So, obviously Innovation REI is that big one. It's the real estate investing. And then we also house like our renovation company out of that. We're general contractor doing repairs for other individuals. And then we also have a store. We just opened a storefront. It's called Second Home. It's basically like a furniture, like home decor resale store. I basically, my company had gotten to a point where we needed a warehouse. I mean, it's really what it came down here. We were doing so much business. We needed a warehouse. Was able to find a really good property. It was already separated, where it was a big warehouse in the back, and it was fixed up for a storefront in the front. So it just kind of made sense to put a business up there. So it's a business. We do home decor and a lot of custom furniture pieces. We do a lot of wholesale orders from wholesale sites. So it's a mix of used and refinished furniture. It's a mix of new items. and it's been growing really well too. I mean, we started that in December of last year. It was like our grand opening, and
Nice.
so we weren't we're not expecting anything huge right at the bat, especially with COVID and all this. It actually affected our store there. But it's been doing really good. We actually just logged our very best month we've ever had last month. So
Guys,
I think we're
go
kind of
get your
finding our niche. What's that?
Go get your pieces. They have amazing, incredible pieces.
Yeah.
I gotta always peel my wife's face off the screen whenever some of the pieces come up, because I mean they're just phenomenal. I mean, flat out, like I've never seen some of these pieces done the way they are. And you've got great people there operating the store too. So
yeah,
I mean,
so shout out to Gabby Harvey. She runs that. Do you know Gabby at all from in town? Okay, yeah, yep. She's super just creative type. You know what I mean? Like, she's amazing at that stuff. My sister works out of there. She's been learning, doing a lot of the pieces, and really Gabby put that whole store together. She was interested in it. I wanted to do something, but I didn't have time to run it, and I don't know anything about home decor, furniture stores. So I just gave I just assist her with some business ideas and with things like that. But Gabby really put that whole store together. The big thing and why we named it Second Home. People will say like, oh, is it like a thrift store? But if you've been in the store, it's not like everything is like procured, like specifically, you know what I mean? Like, it's not just people don't just bring in their junk and we just put it back up for sale. It's everything's
handpicked. Yes.
Yeah, handpicked. And when you walk in the store, I mean, it's almost hard to even know what's for sale. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This whole store just looks beautiful.
That was my problem. Yeah, that was my problem. I was like, did I just walk into somebody's house?
Yeah, but everything's for sale.
Yeah, everything's for sale. Like, I mean, the trees, the pictures, I mean, anything and everything in that place is for sale, but it's so clean and so well done. You look at it and you're like, is this staged for a house or is this like a showroom for something? But like,
she pulled the name Second Home from that. We want people to come in and just feel comfortable. You could sit down and start talking to us and chatting or whatever. And it's getting there, man. Word's getting out and we're kind of finding our niche. And it was important to me. I wasn't born in Jacksonville, but I'm from here. That building was neglected. The old owners weren't doing anything with it. And we decked it out a little bit on the front. It's beautiful there now. And it just makes me feel proud, man. Like, I'm just trying to do things outside. I know we're just talking business stuff now, but I'm the type of person, I'm a giving person. I'm a person. I want to be involved. I want to help. And I want to do things from my city here that I live in, so I felt good to do that part, especially, that area right there. It's not the most well-kept street.
Exactly. And you definitely gave it a bright spot in that area. So, kudos to you for that. And then, you are the most giving, kind-hearted person that I know in regards to business. Like, because you get some people that are so business-oriented and business-minded that they forget what the human side of the element is.
Yeah.
You said something real quick, and I apologize, ladies and gentlemen. You always know I never want to keep you for a long time, but people keep popping in. And Mike, I hope I'm not stealing too much of your time, but people keep popping in. Carrie Cook popped in with another question. I'll get right to that. But you said something about COVID, how COVID did affect the business, but what you're building and what you're putting together long term will be pandemic, will be it'll just be one of those real estate investment is probably one of the best places to put your money because it is life proof. Like, yes, there's going to be things that happen, and yes, you're the landlord, and yes, like my AC's out right now. I'm sure everybody can hear the fan. You know what I mean? But like, it is one of those things that is kind of pandemic, COVID,
almost foolproof, man. Almost foolproof, as much as something can be, as much as an investment can be. And that's why I put my chips into it. That's the other thing. It was I used to have money in some stocks, and I used to have other things, and I pulled everything out and put it in real estate because at the end of the day, I was tired of watching either money be lost or to make a couple $1,000s in a year, and this money I couldn't touch and do all this stuff with. It just, to me, it didn't make sense. I know people say diversify, and that more power to you if that's what you want to do, but you know what I mean? You're going to diversify your money among 5 friends who aren't giving you, aren't paying you your money back? Or would you rather give it to one guy who's going to give you double? You know what I mean? It just didn't make sense to me, man. And plus, you have to bet on yourself, man. You have to be able to bet on yourself. And you know what? I was willing to bet on myself and my company more so than betting on the stock market or something. Like betting
on somebody you have no control over.
That's right. People always come to me and they're like, oh, well, do you fund do you fund flips or do you partner? And I do sometimes, partner with stuff, but it'll be people that have money. And I'll be like, well, why don't you get a loan? Or, well, I'm tired. You know what? If you're not going to invest in yourself, I'm not going to invest in you. You know what I mean? Like, if you don't even have the faith in yourself to do it, you're just not in a position to ask somebody else to do it, in my opinion. I have people who invest in my company as well, but that's because I put all my chips on the table prior. I let everybody know I 100% believed in myself and what we were doing and what we could accomplish. So it's a different ballgame, but that's a big thing, man. People got to bet on themselves when they're in a position to do so.
Bet on yourself 100%. Now, Carrie Cook came in with another question. She said, with long-term rentals, how do you deal with damages? Is this a big issue for my future dreams and to help educate my clients?
It all depends, man. I mean, it's a little bit of a crapshoot. There's a lot of things you can do. One, it depends what kind of landlord you're going to be. If you're a good landlord and you're taking care of your clients and you're not running like a slumlord and things like that, you tend to get better tenants in place. People, if somebody thinks that you're taking care of them, a lot of times they'll take care of you. That doesn't always reciprocate, right? But more times than not, it does. It also depends on the type of properties you're investing in. If you're investing in lower income housing and you're not running credit checks and you have zero issue to get a tenant into your building, then you're going to have more problems than somebody who is doing the opposite of those things. So it's really give and take and how active you want to be and what you want to run. Again, there is no right and wrong. I mean, I'm not saying being a slumlord is right, but you can be a slumlord without being as negative as what it sounds like. You can just run some lower income properties and not put a bunch of money into them and deal with high turnover and people destroying properties and things like that. You can do that for the higher cash flow and to keep things going as fast, or you can wait and suffer through vacant months and things like that to get the proper tenant in for you if you're more worried about that. But I haven't put a ton, knock on wood, I haven't had a ton of damages, you know what I mean, on properties. But yeah, you always have to have some money to put in for those things.
Now, one of the last questions that I'll ask you, and it's somebody texted me as we were on this, and I sort of saw the text. They want me to ask you, and I think this is the question because there's so many scams out there. Let's talk about that for a second. There's so many in anything. I tell people, like, it's in the car industry. Oh, you know what I mean? You can do this and that. Like, I've seen, like, the car industry puts an unrealistic tag on money because we make so much money selling cars. Yeah. But a lot of people think it's like, oh, we're just stealing from the clients. No, there's in certain things, there's markup, and other things there's not. But it's all in what you invest in yourself and all in what you put out there. So what amount of money would you say somebody should have in liquid assets? And I mean, ladies and gentlemen, I mean dollars and cents, or something that like a credit card. I don't know. What would you say is the right dollar amount that somebody needs to have to invest or to start either flipping houses or investing in property?
Whew, that's a big question, man. So it depends. I'm not gonna try to give you a cheap answer, but I'm gonna try to give you the real answer. It depends. So you can invest in real estate with no money. It can be done. It's not easy to do. There's a thing called wholesaling. I don't know if you're familiar with it, but there's people that legitimately all they are is they go out, they do the legwork, they research properties, they get properties under contract, and they turn around and sell those contracts to investors like myself to do it. It costs zero money to get it under contract, and you can sell them depending on how, and it all depends on how good of a deal negotiate. You might sell that contract for $1,000. You might sell it for $20,000. I wholesaled a property. I've wholesaled a number of properties when I first started because I was grinding. I was doing whatever I could. I didn't have resources to do everything I wanted to do. I couldn't buy every property. Yeah. The most I wholesaled a property for $24,000 once was the most I ever sold, and that's literally for signing my name on a piece of paper, give it to somebody. I mean, that's legit. That's the work other than negotiating the deal. So you can do that with zero down. For most investment loans, they require about 20% down to purchase the home. There's a lot of cool ways you can renovate a home without having to have a lot of liquid capital. You can have access to credit cards. You can have Home Depot cards, Lowe's cards. There's a lot of cool ways. And I've helped a lot of people do it where you don't really have to have that cash on you to do it. The 20% is a hard workaround. You usually need about that to get, you know, to get what you need on it. Sometimes some banks will give you, it just depends on depends on the market. It depends where the banks are doing right then. I'll tell you the honest truth. When I first started, I'm going to say this too. Go if you're looking, whoever's asking that question is ever looking to get into real estate investing, get with a local bank, somebody local. I got with First Bank here in Jacksonville, North Carolina, the local bank. Get with them, open accounts with them, create some relationships with them. It was the Wild West when I first came up here. So because banks were wanting to fund this stuff. So no joke, I would get these properties locked in with such equity that when I bought the property, there was so much equity in it that I would close on a property and I would get a check for $30,000. Okay. So I wasn't bringing any money to the table, like, because there was so much equity. The bank was giving me the cost of the purchase plus the renovation cost as part of a loan. And then you were just paying a monthly, you know, I'd pay $400 a month. And that's why I was buying everything I could. Cause I was like, man, they're going to keep giving me money. And I know these things can all make 10, 15, 20,000. I'm just going to rack them up. And that was my goal. Now, then it changed when the market started changing and the bank's rules started changing. Then all of a sudden they couldn't do that. But talk to them. I always say you got to go to closed mouths don't get fed. That's one of my favorite sayings. You got to go talk to people. You got to tell them what you want and ask them what they can do to help. So the 20%, it's hard to give you a dollar amount because 20%, as you know, in Northern Virginia, DC, you better have, you know, $150,000, $200,000 if you're trying to do that. Here, when you can buy a house for, you know, $75,000, you're only talking needing $10,000 to $20,000 down to buy something. So that's really all you need, man. You don't need as much as what people think, but you got to be smart about how you're going about and doing it and how you're leveraging your resources.
Definitely need to do your research, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're going to get into investment properties, whatever it may be, do your research because, and again, like Mike said, be like water, understanding that, you know what I mean, you got to be liquid. You got to go with the flow. Like even when I was in the military, that's always what we used to say, stay liquid, you know what I mean? Stay mobile, stay ready, because you never know what's going to happen. You know what I mean? He's been through, you know what I mean? You started this 7 years ago. You've been through the downturn in the market almost twice now. So, I mean, you know what that's like right now. The beautiful thing is, you know what I mean? The market, from what I've heard, and I don't know, is, you know what I mean, that the market's a little warm right now, especially in our area. But, you know what I mean? We have a different area though. Like, you know what I mean? Where I just came from in Virginia, you know what I mean? The market was on fire. I'm talking about like me and the wife would look at a property on a Friday.
Be gone.
And by Saturday, I'd call the real estate agent on Saturday and be like, hey, listen, we like this property. When can we view it? Hey, somebody just put an offer in on the house.
Yep.
You know how frustrating that was? And it would go like that. But the market is cyclical. It doesn't stay the same all the time. So you have to understand that. And as we and as me and the wife pivot into what God's planning for us next, and we'll get into that next episode, is, you know what I mean, me talking to my wife about what we're doing and what we're pivoting to. But it's just one of those things where you have to realize that nothing stays the same. And if you don't change with the game will eat you alive.
Yeah. And for everybody looking to invest, just keep your eyes peeled, because as this market dips back, like the time to buy is when the market's down, you know, so there's pros and cons. Like right now, our market's great to sell. Like we can renovate some homes and we can sell them great. But what comes with that? You can't buy them as cheap. You can't buy them as cheap. You know what I mean? So yeah, you're selling them for more, but you're paying more for them. And they're harder to find because people aren't going to investors anymore, because the market is in need of houses so bad they can sell them on the open market. Homes that before, you know, when I first moved here in 2013, that you couldn't sell to anybody. Now properties are limited and people are buying anything now they can get more money on the market for them. So it's harder to find deals. When the market's like it is now, it's harder to find deals. You have to pay more for the deals. Yeah, you get it in the back end, but a lot of people go broke during this time because they haven't created those networks to find deals. We haven't had any slowdown with my company because we're already so tied into everybody, you know. So we've been blessed, but I've seen some people fall, which is counterproductive. You would think when the market's up, you're going to see all these investors doing good, but we're actually seeing them fall because they can't get the deals. And we talked about active and passive income, right? That's the problem with active income.
Yeah.
When there's no action, guess what? There's no income. So it kind of gets into that. But again, it's ups and downs. It's being smart. But everybody's looking to invest. When this market crashes back again, which it will at some point, it always will. It's going to go up and down. That's the time. That's when. So millionaires are made in those times.
Yeah. Warren Buffett said it best when the last crash happened. He said that's when your millionaires and billionaires make more money. He said because that's what they call blood in the streets. And that, just being frank, I mean, like I said, we're being real and raw. That is when people buy. That is when people like Mike turn around, they come in and they say, you know what, boom, all these properties either foreclosed, they're just crap properties, and you have the vision, the foresight, and you've been doing your work, you've been doing your research,
you're getting your chips together, right? You got to build your chip count if you want to make a big bet, and that's what we're doing, and I'm doing it right now. We're still moving, but man, when the market goes down, I'll be doubling my net worth hopefully when it happens. That's the plan.
Mike, you just look. Last thing I'm going to talk to you about, and this is why I love Mike Ferraro, because every time you see this guy, so in our area, and I know it's a relatively small area compared to some of the big places that I've been to, I've never heard a bad word about this man. Your net worth is your net worth. Mike, when I talk to, so a lot of people don't know, real quick, one of the pivots we're talking about for my family is going into the real estate game. I won't say anything else, but that is, me and Mike have talked about that. That is my newest thing. I've got one last thing that I need to do, and
about time.
Mike's been telling me, like, dude, you should have done this years ago. I think everybody said that to me. But so what would you say is the number one key thing to building your network? Because like I said, I've never heard not one bad thing. Every time you post a property, I'm talking about like hundreds, if not thousands of people are like, oh my God, they got a new property, like, and it's so beautiful and it's so nice and this and that, da, da, da. And I'll be honest with you, you know what I mean? Mike is one of the reasons why I'm going into real estate, you know what I mean? Because I'm just like, wow, you know what I mean? Like what I did in cars, Mike is doing in real estate. The network that I built in car sales and in the car industry, the automotive industry, is the same thing that Mike has done in real estate. What is your key to success there? Because I know for me, it's like every time I sell a car, you know what I mean, I get a picture, we put them on the internet, we promote them, we congratulate them, we provide A1 white glove customer service, you know what I mean? But from there, you know what I mean? Like you said, it's done, it's over, and it's, you know what I mean? But that relationship that I build with them, like you and your wife, that I build with them, is that long term. So what do you do in your business?
Man, it's pretty similar. Hey, I'm going to walk you over here because I'm going to plug my phone in real quick.
Hey, no worries.
But, so, man, this sounds so corny, man, but it just is what it is. And maybe it's me being old school, and you already hit on a lot of it, man. Like, man, it sounds so limited, but it's really just, if you treat somebody right, dude, if you just treat somebody right and you care, you take the time to talk to them and take the steps to build that relationship a little bit, man, it all comes back. It always comes back. But you have to be deliberate about that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just, oh man, this is a cool guy, Dimitrius, you're a cool car salesman, and you were a good salesperson, gave good service, but you were deliberate in kind of creating a little bit of additional rapport and things like that. And look, it's a slow approach, so people don't like to do it anymore, man. We're in this era of everything's instantaneous, and it happens fast, and you can get a result really quickly, but there is nothing like building that old school rapport and network and treating people right. For the longest time at the bank, I didn't care if I was depositing a check or what I was doing. I never drove through the bank window unless it was pouring down rain. It's a thunderstorm. I always walked into the bank.
Yeah.
Now, look, you might look at that and say, okay, so what? But you know what? Every time I went in there, I had conversations with the people. I talked to them. I made my face present. Same thing with realtors. You know, I wouldn't just call and text. I'd go there and talk to them. You know, go talk to them. Oh, hey, how'd this come out? How'd this come out? Oh, can I help you with something? You know, I don't always have my hand out to people. I'm how can I help you? Like the same thing with you. I told you, hey man, when you decide to make that change, let me know how I can help or what I can do for you.
Serve.
And it goes a long way, man. You know what I mean? It really does. And you can vouch for it because I know that's how you know, just because you treated us. I mean, we're a client of yours doing an interview on Facebook Live right now. You know, we're just a client that bought the car. And that's really what it is, but it's slow going. But so it's consistency is the biggest thing. Just being consistently doing that, not just doing it when you feel like being a good guy or extroverted. And man, I know we're running out of time. I'm sorry it took you so long, but I have so much more I want to talk to you about. You know, there's so many other things that we've hit on during this. I would love to talk another hour about.
So does that sound like we can get a part 2 out of you?
Oh, for sure, man. Yeah. There's some stuff I want to hit on for sure. That we just kind of glanced over that I think is so important. But really, that consistency, man, just doing good by people, and that means doing it whether they're looking or not. And not doing it because I'm going to get something back from this. It's because you're just legitimately trying to do the right thing.
Consistency is key in everything and anything you do. I always say, like I said in the military, deliberate, intentional action. You know what I mean? Violence of action. If you're going to do something, do it with everything you got. Do it to the best of your ability and leave nothing on the table for anybody to question about your work ethic or your character. So, Mike, we appreciate you. We look forward to seeing you on part 2. I'm going to put you in the green room for just a second.
All right.
Guys, you heard it first. Michael Ferraro, owner of Innovation REI LLC. He touched on some great key points, but I think we just scraped the very top, the very surface of everything that he brings to the table when it comes to talking about what he can do, what he knows, the wisdom, the knowledge. He's been in this business, yes, only 7 years in the flip game and thing, but he had to be smart enough. He worked for the FBI, ladies and gentlemen. Just saying. I love him to death. But guys, if you can do anything for me, share this out. Let people know that we're not trying to keep you for a long time. We just want to talk to you about a little bit of something that maybe makes you think different about whatever you're going to approach or maybe how you're going to approach it. We're just trying to put you on a path for success by bringing different people from different walks of the industry. We had my brother the weekend before who talked about his business, and he does t-shirt and clothing line, and you know what I mean, keep chasing clothing line. Now we got Mike, who's a real estate investment expert. If you know somebody who you think would be a great candidate to be on the Sunday night showcase, definitely don't hesitate to bring them to my attention because I would love to sit down and talk to them. It's your favorite guy, Dimitrius Naylor. I appreciate your time. I thank you for everything that you do, and I look to see you next time. Wednesday, we got an awesome guest, but I'll say that. Check out the advertising. Check out the page. Nailed It by Dimitrius Naylor. BB3 Studios by Stephanie Morgan Naylor. You guys will see you next time.